Yo, what's going on, everybody? Thank y'all for tuning in to another episode of the Dope Sessions podcast. I'm your host, Kelvy, and as always, I'm joined by very special guests. I've been trying to get this guest on the show since I basically, brought it back. And glad to finally have her on here. I met her at it was like I don't want to say concert, but it was like an event, and it was a really, really good. One of my friends who was actually on the podcast, K-So, she performed at the event, and I came there just to support because that's the homie, and I saw this beautiful black queen there, and she's a chef. And we got to talking and stuff like that, and I was just like, man, I want to bring her on the podcast. So and plus she got a podcast of her own, so we're gonna get into that a little bit too. So I just want to give it up and welcome to the podcast, ChefJBMarie. What's going on?
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad you're here too. We just kind of ask a couple of questions, and because I want everybody to get to know you, get to know what you do. I feel like I'm a good cook. I think never got any complaints. There was a point in my life that I wanted to be a chef because I wanted to do it for my dad, because that was one of the things that he wanted to do, but he dropped out of high school, and so one of the things that he would always tell me was like, man, I would really want to be a chef, and I used to always say like, man, maybe you should just go back, but he was always just like, oh, it's too late for me and all this other stuff. But when was the moment where you was just like, this is what I want to do? I love to cook. I love people's reaction to my food. I want to be a chef. When did all of that come about?
Yeah. Okay. Well, when I decided to become a full-fledged chef, it was later in life. Like a lot of people start straight out of high school, but I just went into working for small black businesses, and I cooked for my family all the time. But then I got a job at the airport, and I started working for TSA, and I had a lot of people there that I worked with, and that I would cook for, like the little potlucks that we have at our checkpoints. But it was one time this guy, Ricky, he did like a thing where he brought in breakfast for everybody, and he brought in like some hot plates and stuff, and some saute pans for us to cook up some omelets and things like that. And so everybody would come in, cook up their omelet, and then have it in there and go back to the checkpoint. But when I got in there to do mine, I whipped mine up. It was looking good. He like, oh, okay, I see you. I really want an egg white omelet, and woo after damn, I can't woo after damn. I'm like, it ain't nothing. You know what I'm saying? Let me go ahead and hook you up. I hooked him up his egg white omelet. He like, oh, that's fine. And then he was like, how about you just cook everybody's the rest of the shift, and just hook everybody up. Like, so I ain't gotta go back to the checkpoint. I ain't gotta go back to the checkpoint for my shit. All I gotta do is, cook up these omelets and sunny side ups. I'm like, that's you. But at the end of my shift, I was thinking like, maybe I should really take it more seriously. Like maybe I really could be like a real chef. And so then I went to Le Cordon Bleu, and I got my culinary arts certificate.
For people that don't know, and for people that want to be a chef, like explain that experience. Like Le Cordon Bleu, that's like super famous, like school. Explain like that whole process, like what it takes to become a chef.
You gotta. Well, if you want to be a chef, you really have to have like a need, a desire to want to work with food. It's not glamorous. It's not like like you see on TV. Everything's not in a pretty little prep bowl. you're gonna wash that prep bowl. You're gonna prep the food for the bowl. You're gonna clean your station, then you're gonna put it in the prep bowl. It's just like a lot more. There's so many more steps. To really food service. So, you just have to kind of get out there. I would always recommend somebody that's looking to go into food service to take like a small food service job and, get in the kitchen, feel the heat. And then you would really see if it's something that you get excited from, or if it's something that you feel like maybe I should do the front of the house, or maybe I should try so many positions. So you don't have to always be behind a stove or oven. You can do a lot of things in hospitality. And it welcomes everybody. As a lot of people have their first jobs in food service and move on to do great things within food service or other fields. So it brings like a lot of good character, and it builds you up to really know how to work hard, because you're not gonna go in the kitchen and not work hard, or you're gonna get out the kitchen. So yeah, you got to be ready to work. You definitely got to be ready to, get your hands dirty.
So I want to ask you, like, what's like the toughest, like, because like with me cooking, like I feel like I said, I think I'm pretty good. But the one thing that always is like that, oh man, when people always like, man, do you know how to like make pies or make? I was like, oh my God, no. Like that's the one thing that always used to get me was baking. And I think like the one thing that I know that I can do really good as far as is like do like a pecan pie. That's like the only thing I could actually do baking wise. But like other than that, I'm just like, anybody was like, man, what about a cake? I'm like, oh no.
I get you. I 100% feel you on that. Like I used to be that person, and like when I got out of culinary school, I felt like I wanted to do my own business, and I really love catering. So I would cater events, small events myself, and I could do all the things that people wanted for appetizers and entrees, but I could not do dessert. And so I was like finding people that did desserts, like, where you at? Let me get some of that red velvet. You got that caramel cake. Like, let me get that. That's going to really make my, dishes pop. And I got tired of, I was already doing small orders. So, cutting in for the bakery costs, it could actually really add up, because baking is time consuming and they charge for that. So, I was like, well, you know what? I'm finna make my own red velvet. And that's when I went back to school to find out about baking and pastry. And I enrolled myself back to Le Cordon Bleu. And I was like the last graduating class in North America, because they started to close all the schools. And so I did the baking and patisserie program, and it was very challenging. But it was very exciting because I was able to like learn how to bake cakes and all different types of cakes. I did like sugar sculpture, chocolate work. I learned a lot of different techniques, and I really grew a real love for baking and pastry. Patisserie is like super dope, especially working with sugar. And sugar sculptures, I think that's like really fun. There are a lot of things that I like to do with chocolate. Like being able to sell more chocolate items. But right now I just get to do like cakes, cupcakes, things like that.
Oh, okay.
And recipes, but for so far so good.
Okay.
Killing it. But I love to make, pies and stuff like that, because it's crazy. My father, he can't have eggs. He just has always had an egg allergen. But he was just asking to make him a peach cobbler. So I got all this and stuff like that. And I'm going to do like a biscuit, quick dough, and it's going to be good.
I always once wondered, like, being, with being a chef and being in that world, like, is there a lot of not only just black chefs, but black women who are chefs, and like, what's it like for you guys in that world?
Yeah. It's really dope being a black female chef. We always come up with creative new things. You can see a lot of African American females, pushing a lot of products that the market hasn't seen before. A lot of different flavors. We play with a lot of different flavors from all cultures and ethnic backgrounds. And I see a lot of black women chefs really trying to push the limit, push the bar, and really get their Michelin stars. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, I think that it is challenging being a woman in the kitchen, especially, I was about to, but it's challenging to be a woman in the kitchen. There's so many things that, you have to buck up about. Things are, especially for me, like, where it's a lot of short people to work in the kitchen, so they know my struggle. But we find innovative ways to reach things. Everything is heavy. Please assume everything is hot. But, you really have to get on your strong chef movement and buck up. And a lot of things are changing out, a lot of things in commercial kitchens that are heavy, so lifting is good for chefs, female chefs. I would recommend that, because once I started to do lifting, able to really get on my strong chef movement. But I definitely struggled, with just keeping up my pace. You got to be fit. There's a lot of people in the kitchen that can hold on to a lot of weight, because we have, we work in food service, and a lot of people with food issues, we hide behind it, working in food service. But it is difficult, toting around that extra weight in the kitchen. Sometimes I felt like, my heels was burning. Okay. So you definitely have to, buck up to a lot of challenges as a female. You have to really tap into your endurance, and you can't take any mess, because as soon as you do, it's like the floodgates in the kitchen. It's like a whole nother world. People will ride to the end of your shift in the next morning, because they just thirsty like that. How about that?
Yeah.
It's haters. I've ran across so many haters in the kitchen. But, you got to keep doing you. You got to keep pushing through. And it is real when it comes to employment, and like American men and women really receiving the promotions that they deserve, and being respected. They do competitions. So some people feel that, the best chef is from Europe, and that's what they prefer. But it is, a chef stands on what they do. So, and you're only as good as your plate. So it kind of takes all of the color out of the equation. If your food can pass, then you got it. So a lot of times, especially as African American women, we stand on what we put on our plates, and that's what makes the difference.
Now, I promise you, this is probably gonna be like, I might throw in a little chef questions a little later too, but like, one of my favorite shows back in the day, well, not even back in the day, but it was a show I used to watch a lot, was Chopped. And I used to watch Chopped, and I would see like black chefs, but then I'd be like, man, like, I wish they like have more on there. Like, so am I gonna see you on Chopped one day, or is that something that you want to do? Or
I ain't gonna block my blessings. So whenever you see me, just be like, yeah, that's ChefJBMarie, come through. I hope I'm killing it and, winning that competition, going to the finale, getting that money.
Yeah.
I'm a
And because that's the one thing. And every time I've watched Chopped and I see a black chef on there, male or female, I'm just like, I'm pulling for y'all. Like, come on, let's win this thing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm there. I'm like, come on, y'all, let's win it. Let's win it. Like, I feel like I'm winning too. Like, you know.
Like, yeah, that flavor sound right. I ain't never heard of that, but that could be good. You know, just right away, you know, trying to see what the judges say. I mean, I'm the same way. I definitely want to see black people win, especially in culinary competitions and baking and pastry. You know, I want to see them building those crazy cakes, or, you know, coming through and just smashing, you know, the competition. I do get excited about that. You know? And I don't watch a lot of cooking shows, but I do love Top Chef on Bravo, because I love Bravo.
Yeah.
I love Top Chef, and it's actually a Top Chef finale night. Boom.
Okay. Okay.
You know, I my little moosh boosh and things like that before my dinner. Got my little setup, my crusty bread and some prosciutto. Yeah, I got myself a little wing. So. And I think it's gonna be a good.
You know, that's the one thing I always, you know, it's like being a chef, you do so much prep work and cooking and all this other stuff. It's like when you come home, do you be like, man, I'm just gonna order something to eat, or you just like, I'm already cooking, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do my thing? Like,
I can't tell you how many nights I just didn't eat. Like, sometimes, you know, I didn't, like, damn, I'm just like so tired, I just want to sleep. Like, but I definitely have got off a shift and been like, you know, let me holler at Harold's real quick and go get me some wings or something. Nice treat, because a lot of times when you get off work, you know, you close your kitchen out and you just trying to see who left their kitchen open, you know. So you get you know, I'm always coming back to the South Side because I love my South Side, you know. So I get my little South Side treats. Sometimes I go like Stony Sub, get me a pizza, you know what I'm saying, wings it is, stuff like that. I get a little treat, a little hot, but you know, it's fried, so it's like, you know, you're gonna eat that and chill for a second and then you be knocked out. So that, or, you know, I might just come home and make myself something fast, like a grilled cheese sandwich or something.
Okay.
It'll be fancy grilled cheese.
I was just about to ask that. You answered that question for me. Thank you.
I want that cheese in my grilled cheese. I want me some Serrano crusty bread. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes if I'm really feeling special, I get me some nice grass-fed butter. But yeah, I'll try to do it up a little bit, you know, hook it up for myself and then call it a night.
The podcast that you have, Chef Chronicles. What made you want to do a podcast? Like, for me, I remember one of my friends asked me. He was like, because he didn't know I did a podcast, and then he looked at he was like, yo, you really was doing this podcast and stuff. And I was like, oh yeah. And he asked me, he said, why did you want to start doing a podcast? And I told him, I said, well, me and two of my friends had this huge discussion about the NWA movie Straight Outta Compton. And I love the movie, and they're just like trashing it. And the conversation, it went for like 3 hours. This conversation went for 3 hours. And so I said, you know what? Like, I really wish like I could have all three of us get together and just do a podcast. And it just kind of didn't work out, so it just ended up being me. But what made you start your podcast, and what was the driving force? And just tell everybody about Chef Chronicles and the things that you want to talk about and discuss on your podcast.
Okay, yeah. Chef Chronicles. My Chef Chronicles is on Anchor. And so my Chef Chronicles is on Anchor. It's also sponsored by Spotify, so you can find it on Spotify. But I came up with Chef Chronicles because I was actually in the Thompson Center. I had been doing several errands downtown, and I just randomly felt like I wanted to take a little video because I was so shocked and upset because I had got these really cute stud earrings. I'm like, I really love stud earrings. I got me some today. But I had my stud earrings my off day, and I really like these. And I think there's like Anne Klein or something. You know how you get the cute ones from. And I literally was doing my whole thing, and when I got to the Thompson Center, I was by the DMV, and I just totally was gonna do a video about my day, and I lost my earring.
Oh.
And so I was so mad. I made like a little joke about it in my video, and then I was like, yeah, this is Chef Chronicles with ChefJBMarie. You know what I'm saying? I just came up with it, and I was like, my friend was like, oh, you know, you can do a podcast, Chef Chronicle podcast. I'm like, what? On Anchor? Yeah, and they showed me how to do it.
Okay.
And I was like, okay. And I just tried it out. It was like in 2018. It was like really short, some short episodes. And some other people had heard my podcast. You know, they listened to it. And they were like, oh, you know what? You did a really good job. I want you to do my podcast with me for Easter Sunday, and I'm gonna put it on YouTube. So I ended up messing with people that I used to grow up with back in the day, from Southeast side, and I did the podcast on it was like for YouTube, and it went okay. They had a lot of good views and stuff like that, and I got a lot of good reviews, but I didn't do any more podcasts with them anymore. And so once I started, 2020 hit, I was like, you know what? Let me try and J back down with my Chef Chronicles. I really want to see what I could do because I had so many good compliments, and I really didn't put as much into it. And I really want to share, my experiences in the kitchen, tips that I can help people with, anything that happened with me in life, anything I had an opinion about, or, social issues, hot topics, things like that. I just wanted to have an extra layer to my catering business because, like you said, you had met me at the event show, and catering is all about doing events. So I do like music live events. I manage those shows, and that's where I was like, let me add an extra layer to my entertainment portion of my brand, so I could really, boost myself up and really see what's out there for myself. And so I gave it a shot, and I really do like doing it on Anchor. I really like my podcast. So far I've got like 4 really official episodes, and I really enjoy it, because I get a little release. I get to, express my point of view on a lot of different topics, and there's so much to talk about. It's kind of like some people like looking at the people like, why aren't you saying anything?
Right.
What's your opinion on what's happening? Because there's so much going on.
Yeah.
I want to keep my podcast, food related, but food is, for the soul, and when your soul is affected, I think.
You had brought up something when you were talking about your podcast about just being able to speak about issues and stuff like that that's going on, and a lot of us been going through a lot. I know I have, especially with everything that's been happening in Minnesota and Atlanta. It's just it affected me to the point where I couldn't even do anything for like a couple of days, and it really bothered me, because stuff like this always, like, I always get affected when things like this happen, but like not to the effect that this when George Floyd died, it was just like there's like this cloud of sadness. And I'm always like, when things like this happen, I'm always sad and I'm always troubled. But this one just like, it did something to me. I want to just get your feelings about how you felt about the murder of George Floyd, everything in Minnesota, and everything that's going on now in Atlanta.
You know, it's hard, and I'm sorry that you went through that, because, you know, it is very difficult, and, you know, sometimes it just takes time for you to even process certain things, because they're horrific, and they're traumatic to your psyche. It makes you feel defenseless. The fear, it really permeates deeply in your spirit. You know, you can feel it, especially, you know, if you have descendants of slavery that have went through those things in your family. You know, you feel it. It's almost like a million times more. It's like something that you can't describe.
Right.
I just think that, you know, we live in America, and these injustices have not ever stopped. I have an opinion. I feel like the progress that people talk about doesn't highlight the fact that so many things have stayed the same. And I feel like people are shocked at things that occur now that they thought might not have happened now, or they were supposed to happen then. And I don't share that. I feel like the things that happened then still happen now. You know, people are seeing that things that happen then, they still happen now. It is the predatory situation in our communities, harassment, because they feel like they can. And it's so much footage and so many decades of police brutality available to the public that I personally feel, and I did put this on my podcast episode, I believe it's episode 3, where I wanted people to really look at the charge, really charge them accordingly. I feel that there are serial killers in the police force, and I feel like the serial killers need to be weeded out of the police force, because they have had plenty of opportunity to see what can happen on the police force and how the police are not reprimanded, they're not prosecuted, they're not sent to jail, and they can kill people of color, and they can abuse people of color. And I feel like people that have an evil way in their spirit will see what they've seen, see what we see for the last 40, 50, 60 years, just looking at footage of what's available to the public, and they will apply to the police force so that they can live out being a serial killer and kill people of color without having to be prosecuted or any type of consequences. And I really feel like, you know, just like it's people that join the medical field and they only have malpractice on their mind, I really feel like there's people that join the police force because they only have hate on their mind, and they really need to get about it. You cannot fight hate crimes if you're committing hate crimes.
Yeah, most definitely. I always I've been having like tons of conversations this week, and like the one thing that bothers me is I see people that will post things and they'll say, well, you know, we're sitting here talking about police brutality and all this other stuff, but nobody wants to talk about black on black crime. And I'm like, well, you can talk about black on black crime, but you also have to talk about the levels it took to get to where this is at right now. Like, you know, and people, I don't think people understand that. Like, if I live in a neighborhood with black people, I'm pretty sure somebody's gonna get shot or somebody's gonna get robbed. Just like a white person living in a white neighborhood, that is bound to happen. To me, I don't look at it as black on black crime. I look at it as like a proximity thing. Like, you know, when we're all in the same neighborhood together, like, stuff like that will happen. I don't buy into, like, is there crime in our is there killings and crime in our neighborhoods? Of course, but it's that way in everybody's neighborhood. And I just hate that theory. It's just like, oh, well, we got to talk about black on black crime. And I'm just like, yo, like, if you look at the history of, you know, if you want to bring up racism and you want to bring up black on black crime, you got to look at racism. You got to look at the way that black people, our ancestors, and have been oppressed to the point where it trickles down to us as well. And so sometimes you have to look at certain things. You just can't look at this thing and be like, okay, this is cut and dry. Like, you got to look at the other stuff too. And that's the one thing that I've been seeing a lot. And I've been seeing a lot of black people that look like us, throw out the black on black crime thing. And I'm just like, come on, like really? Like, I mean, I get it,
definitely.
but it's like, yeah.
No, I don't. You know, I mean, I can understand them trying to bring it up. Yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from, because it's bullshit. Real BS, because stay on topic. Can we stay on topic? Can you handle one thing at a time? Can you focus on what we're really dealing with at this time? If you want to divert it over to black on black crime, fine. But that's not what we're talking about. So why don't you stay on topic? Black on black crime is real. People in their communities will have crime with each other. There's white on white crime. In America, there's more white on white crime than it is black on black crime, period, point blank. So if you want to make it into something that it's not, you're in an area and there's crime with the people in that area. Yes, black on black crime. But at the end of the day, we're talking about systematic crimes. We're talking about oppression. We're talking about so many things that go beyond you beefing with somebody in your neighborhood. You know, well, we can't beat each other. We're not human.
Right.
We can't have.
And that's the point too. It's like, I don't think people are really understanding that all of this comes from the oppressor oppressing us, and all of this is a trickle down effect. And I don't think people really get that. And it's like, when you're trying to explain to people, especially like you know, because I like me, I try to keep up with like history and everything like that, because I really do believe that what affects you back then can also affect you now. And when I see people just like cut to, oh, what about the black on black crime stuff? And I'm just like, yo, like, you know, white people kill other white people. Mexicans and Latino and Latinx people, they kill each other too. Like, it ain't just us. And this whole thing of just like, that's everybody's argument. What about black on black crime? Or what about everything that's going on in Chicago? Like, do you know how many other neighborhoods and other cities have crime? Like, it just seems like that's the sexy story. The sexy story is the crime, the black on black crime, and the stuff that's going on in Chicago. And if you can't talk about that, then it's just like, there's nothing to talk about. But to me, it's just like, I get so sick and tired of that being thrown out.
Yeah, it is. It's a punk move. It's like people can't handle the real facts. They wanna. It almost feels like, I can't handle this topic, so let me move on to something else. You know, because I just need to talk about something else, because it just gets too real. You can't handle it. That's why you want to talk about black on black. If you're gonna talk about that, by the way, it's nothing new about it. What are you trying to say? Do you have any new information? Because what's happening currently is something that you can talk about, that is actually happening right now. You talk about black on black crime. I'm sure black on black crime happens every day, but it's on a scale that isn't as significant and isn't as important as injustice in the police force and the judicial system. We're trying to work on multiple things at a time. We're black people, we're multitaskers. Yes, we can do this, but we need to stay on topic. We need to really get things done. And if you can't handle the conversation, get out of it. And if you feel like the way for you to get out of it is to bring up black crime, then you can see the exit, because it doesn't make any sense. You didn't belong in the conversation in the first place.
So, what do you feel about the whole? Because the one thing that I'm seeing now is defund the police, which I think it's a good idea. Now, I think people need to be educated on the whole defund the police thing, because I think they're just saying a no more cops period, and it's not really what we're saying. It's like, okay, we could take half of this money that they're giving to you guys and put it into some stuff in our neighborhood that they need. Like, we need a lot of stuff in this neighborhood to not only build our neighborhoods up again, but if you want to control this crime, then you know what I'm saying. Like I remember when I was young, like being in programs that like that you could go to your park and like be in these programs. It was kind of just like after school stuff, and then like all of a sudden that was just taken away. And now, because it's taken away, like you don't leave people any options. So now I think, to me, the defund the police, I think, is a great thing, because what I'm saying is take some of these funds that you're gonna give the police department and reinvest it in our communities. That's kind of how I look at it. How do you look at it?
Yeah, I definitely agree with you with defunding the police. I think that it is a lot of layers to defunding the police. I think that people do have it twisted, thinking that there is no need for police. That's not what defunding the police is. But defunding the police, I really believe, will help the police be better. They always talk about reform and getting extra money for training and things like that. How about let's just get you off some of these contracts? So since you can't act right, we're gonna hit you where it matters, your pockets. And then we'll really see some real change. If you don't get the same benefits, you don't get to do all the public schools. How about that? Do all of the public events. How about they got private security at the schools? They have private security at events. They have private security for certain gated communities and other communities, or maybe we'll come up with our own community watch to help, go in between. And we don't want the community to be policed by, the city police, or maybe they'll work in conjunction with it, but they got to step back. They don't get free reign on every single thing. They're not the first call. They're not the first responders, because they lost that privilege. They lost that trust.
I think for a while, the police, for a long time, the police have gotten away with a lot of stuff, and people just kind of like let it pass. Now I really think, like, okay, you want to keep acting up, we gonna hit you where it hurts. Let's hurt you in your pockets. Like,
that's all they care about. They don't care about your lives, because we keep saying that, and they don't care how they did. Now see, when they found out that additional footage of how they really did Rashard Brooks, it just shows you that they don't think that they have any repercussion for their actions. For them to do that to somebody after all of the things that's been happening in the country, and for them to go to work, shoot somebody, and then kick them in their face on their last minutes of of life on this earth and make sure that they die by standing on their back, you doing this at the Wendy's because you feel so protected. No, you don't get the money. You don't get it. You need to go to jail for life, because I feel like you came to work with bloodlust. And how many other people have you killed and didn't get any repercussions for it? You could be one of our serial killers. What did you join the force for? Because what y'all doing is evil. Who does evil every day? You know, some of these police officers and they forces support them, and they prosecutors back them up, and they don't need to get the same benefits that they've had because they've abused it.
And the one thing that I've always I had a conversation with a friend about, because they were just like, man, you know, maybe, you know, because he said he heard a police officer say, like, you know, the community needs to come to them and have a conversation with them. And I'm like, I said, no, at this point in juncture, I said, why should we have to do anything? If anything, y'all should be the ones reaching out to us. Y'all should be the ones talking to us.
Keep your contracts, because we pay your bills.
Right.
We pay for this service, and you out here killing and harassing us, and we tired of paying for somebody to kill and harass us. So why should we come to somebody that's killing and harassing us? No, you need to beg for your job, because you about to get fired. Definitely defund the police. They don't care, and they haven't cared, and they ain't gonna change, because they keep protecting each other. And until they set that code aside and get those serial killers and those killers and those hate crime people off their force, because it's people that have stood up to those people many times, and they get fired, they lose their pensions, you know, and the people that's doing wrong are protected.
Yeah.
So that system needs to be we could throw the whole thing in the trash can. At this point, how you feeling? Like, you know, just throw this whole thing in the trash can and start over.
Right.
For real. But it's just crazy. I just don't understand. Sometimes I get so confused of how things really went in this direction. I only been here for so many years, and it's been happening before I was born. And they've been doing the things for more than a span. So it's just like sickening.
Yeah,
that this really is what is.
Yeah, it's just
really disgusting.
Yeah, and like I have family members who are police officers. I have friends that are police officers, and I've had to have these conversations with them as well. And I was just like, I'm hoping that they're having these same conversations within themselves. And it's like, I guess in a perfect world, you would expect change. You would expect, if somebody says, "Oh, this is going on," you expect somebody, "Oh, you know what? Let's do this. Let's get them out of here." You know, anything else. But it's like, we don't live in a perfect world. And a friend of mine was telling me, like, you know, I think everything's gonna, you know, with everything that's going on now, everything's gonna go in a new direction. And it's like, when I hear people say that, it's like, I want to be hopeful, but I'm not. I want to be hopeful. Like, I'm hopeful for a lot of things, but this is kind of like, I'm not, because it keeps happening. It keeps happening. It will continue to happen. Like, when people say, "Oh, this is going to eradicate racism." No, I don't think it is. I don't think it's going to eradicate racism. And I might be super cynical about it. I just don't see it. But like, I hope that we as a people, we need to like just start, like you said. I think we need to just throw the whole police system in the trash and maybe start over, or do something different or something like that. I have no idea, but like, We gotta do something. And like I feel like, you know, it, as much as we've cried and we've had uprisings and we march and we protest, and there's some changes that I do see, but why does it have to take this to get the change or get the changes that we need? Why do we have to do this in order for them to be like, okay, now we see everything. We see it now. Like, you should have been seeing it. Like, we've been saying this for years. Like, you know, there has been.
I mean,
yeah, it's like there has been books about this stuff that y'all could have read. There has been art that you guys could have seen that has been saying this for years. Artists and like rappers and stuff who've been saying this for years, and the only thing, like, that's why I was like, man, I love like Ice Cube and like NWA. They've been saying this stuff for years, but then the only thing people pick out, oh, they hate the police. It's like, well, I mean, and if they do you blame them? Like, I don't blame them. I don't, you know what I'm saying? It's just, I don't blame my people for like not trusting the police. You've never given us a reason to, you know.
It's another thing where people just act like it's new. First of all, it's not new. It's people act like, you know, oh, I see now. No, you knew, and if you didn't know, you could have known, but you chose not. It's not something. If it's happening before I was even born, your grandparents knew about it. Your parents knew about it, but you were comfortable in your position of not having to address it. Now you have to address it. That's all they're saying, is that, yeah, we know this happens. Yeah, we don't talk about it. Now we have to address it, and we might actually do something to try and make it so that we don't have to address it any further. Can we get this to go back to normal, where we ignore how people are treated and inhumanely harassed in their own neighborhoods in our country? You know, how we ignore how the judicial system immediately looks at your skin color and says you're guilty. You know, how we ignore how we executed and incarcerated so many African Americans just to stop their right to vote. Does a lot more than just, you know, take somebody off the street that's doing a crime. You know, and there's a lot more reasons why they need African Americans to be locked up, so that they don't have the power to assemble, so that they don't have another moment where the Negro is in power. They've been trying to avoid these things since they occurred. Like the president said back in the day, he wouldn't have got up so easily. He said before he got elected, talking about back in the good old days, you wouldn't have got up so fast when somebody got punched in the face for being African American at his rally. Yeah, that dude, he lived through injustices, didn't mind it. Okay, because he had a different American experience. So, you know, they know, because they eat off our ancestors' blood. They're living in a condition that is based off our ancestors' blood. They've been in homes that our ancestors built with their bare hands and bare feet. Everywhere we go, we built this country, and they know it, but they don't have to address it. So when things like this happen and they have to address it, they're just trying to find a way to make it go away. This is not what we're doing. We don't, because you want your peace, you want back normal, but we want justice, because we don't expect peace, because we didn't never have it.
Right.
We have never had peace, and we keep trying to make our homes, our houses a home, and have peace in our homes. But there's so much crap that gets in your home from what you go through in the world. And you know, the black community is suffering, is in a critical state, of heartache and trauma and pain from being preyed on, harassed. We're not even talking about how, at the protests, all these people were blaming Black people for actions that people had been doing that were not Black, and they were dressing like Black people and painting themselves up like Black people and going. And I said, they just exposing what they do on a day-to-day basis when they come into Black neighborhoods and shoot them up and then say it's gang related. I know it's not all gang related. You better watch the people that come in and out your neighborhood, because it's people that live in African Americans that live in Metropolis. Guess what? Your block is mapped out. So a white supremacist don't have nothing but time and opportunity to hit your blocks. You run your block, but it's white supremacists that's running through your block and doing dirt. And they just going straight back to their house, and everybody else is getting locked up for it. And they snap people, taking people's organs, kidnapping them, and lynching them.
No, I told somebody the other day, going back to what you were saying about these people at the protest, like painting their skin Black, and I told people, I was like, you need to watch out, because some of these people who say they're your allies is not really your allies. We got to be careful, because these people have pretending like they are allies and doing all this stuff, and they're blaming us for it when it's not even us that's doing it. So everybody ain't your ally. Like, I mean, you gonna have allies, don't get me wrong, but some allies ain't your allies.
There's a lot of good people in this world, and there's a lot of good white people in this world, but it's a lot of bad people in this world, and there's a lot of bad white people in this world. Okay? And you gotta hold people accountable. If you want to be a flip-flopper or two-faced, be that. But please keep your antennas up, watch your circles, because it's historical facts on facts on facts. You could just go through the court system of how many times a white person flipped on a Black person and the Black person took the rap. I mean, that's like tic-tac-toe.
Right.
I mean, how many times want to hear that story before you be like, maybe I should really watch you a little bit closer? I mean, it's not nothing against you, but according to history, they say profiling Black people. Oh, I'm afraid because of what history said. A lot of things that they say about Black people was fear mongering. A lot of things that they said about Black people wasn't even true, and they tarnished Black characters left and right. So a lot of things that people feel about Black people aren't even accurate, But I guarantee you, when you start talking about what's in the historical books, they're gonna say it's accurate, right? Yeah, and they were not trustworthy in the historical books, okay? And that was their great. So, no, your facts against what people made up to make us feel bad.
And I want people to understand that, just because we protesting and everything, we're not keeping we keeping our eye on the ball. We want justice for George Floyd. We want justice for Breonna Taylor. We want justice for
Rashard
Brooks in Atlanta. Like, we seeking justice, man. We seeking justice, and a lot of, and I don't care, like, people, like, people was talking about, like, Candace Owens was saying something about, George, like, we making George Floyd to be a martyr and all this other stuff. First of all, I can't really listen to anything Candace Owens says, but to me, it's like, I don't care if a Black man or a Black woman has a rap sheet or not a rap sheet. You don't deserve to die like that. You don't deserve to have your dignity taken away from you and be killed in the same process. Like,
by somebody that's supposed to be taking you to have a fair trial. Let's just remember that they're not supposed to kill. That's not a part of their job description. It is something that happens on the job, the level of danger that the job has. You know, and there are times where you might have to use your weapon, and you may have to bring somebody down, hopefully with a non-deadly shot. Okay, let's train for that, please, so everybody can get a fair and just trial. It's not for them to end somebody's life. It's for them to put them in a position where they can defend themselves in a court of law. They're not supposed to be kneeling on your neck in the street till you die and you never see a judge. What is that? You're not doing your job.
No, it's amazing, like, how other people can get justice, but we're still asking for justice. Like, to this day, Black people, we're still asking for justice. Shouldn't we already have justice? Like, that should be a concept that if everybody else can get justice, for, you know, why are we still asking for justice? Like, that should just be, like, that should be, but, you know, but history, so, you know, we talk about history a lot. History tells you that ain't something we ever got. And if you see what's going on from back then to right now, it's nothing we ever got. It's a lot of mothers with children that's gone, men and women who have lost significant others, who've lost brothers and sisters and fathers and mothers, and a lot of times we don't get answers. Like, still to this day, we don't get answers. For the life of me, I don't understand why George Zimmerman is still walking the streets. That's how I feel about it. I don't understand.
Like, let's see what Sandra Bland's cops are doing. Let's find out what Sandra Bland's cops are doing. You know, like, it's so many cops. How long was Breonna Taylor's cops still on the job? After they killed her.
Right.
You know, and it's like, if nobody brought type of anything to them, you know, they'd be pulling somebody over or doing another warrant sort. They still on the job. They were still employed. They literally killed somebody by accident and they went to work the next day. Like, who gets that at any job?
Right.
How do they make these checks and balances in the police force to allow so many people that have violated people's rights in the judicial system to remain employed and enforcing the laws of the land? They gotta go. I mean, they do a good job protecting the land and not the people, protecting the buildings and not the people, you know. And it's just like, I don't feel comfortable relying on them in regards to protecting the lives of my family and friends. And I want to, because I pay for it out of my taxes. But it's like, the history said, you better watch your back and be careful, because you could lose your life.
It always moments like these is where I think about, you know, how precious life is, because it could be taken away from you. And, you know, as a Black man, as a Black woman, you know, it's just like, you know, I remember when I was young, the whole thing was like, you know, hopefully you can make it to 21.
Yeah.
Like, and nowadays it's just like, seem like it's just open season. You may not live to get to see your 16th birthday or your 40th birthday or your 35th birthday.
I really feel that
birthday. You know, it's just,
they gave up. Young people have really given up on what their future could be. They don't know, you know, and they don't feel like it's as bright, you know, as a lot of people painted futures out to be, because it's 2020 and it's perfect vision, and people are seeing that the opportunities to really get to where you want to be, sometimes they are far and few in between. You got to jump through the right hoops and the right loops to get to certain positions, and there are only so many slots. The economy isn't what it used to be. College education isn't guaranteed positions in the workforce. And, you know, people are making minimum wages that are similar to those from the 70s. I was talking to my dad, and he had jobs that he started off with $13 an hour, $7 an hour. He went from 7 to 13 going up. But I said, you know, they still offering those type of wages.
Yeah.
I said, you know, that don't make no sense how they offering the same wages from when you first started working. Because everything has went up. And so they purposely kept those wages like that for so long. I was flabbergasted when he told me that. But they kept it like that on purpose so that the crime rate, you know, they get paid to have crime. If there's no crime, they don't get paid. You know, people don't have any. Everything went up. You can't buy things for $7 an hour, $13 an hour like you could in the 70s. You know? So they have already set things up for people to be at a disadvantage and for the gap from the rich and the poor to grow even larger and larger. So they orchestrating a perfect storm. Now you got diseases and, you know, pandemics, and you can tell, you know, people that don't have certain economic stability are suffering and dying.
You know, it's funny because I've had conversations with my brother, and he was talking about, man, he was like, I might want to move out of the country. And I've heard other people talk about that too. And it's just like, to me, I'm like, at this point, I'm like, that don't sound like a bad idea. At this point, I'm like, that really don't sound like a bad idea to move out the country and just, you know, because it just seems like living here is always like a constant, like, it's always a constant battle.
Yeah,
and
it is.
Yeah.
And people in history have said the same. Like Nina Simone, she moved out of the country, and she said she was just tired of feeling like a nigga. You know, obviously I'm not quoting her or anything like that, but she was basically saying she was tired of the injustice. She was tired. I remember when I was growing up, I watched the Josephine Baker story, and I used to love that movie. And she moved to Europe, and she was just saying how, you know, she was treated better. She was doing her art freer. You know, it was a better way of life because so many things were happening. Racial injustices were happening in the United States at the time of her career. And it was easier for her to be out of the country and do her art and live out of the country and things like that. You know, it's several people that have chosen to move out, and the world is beautiful. The world is beautiful, but I will be damned if my ancestors bled and died for this, and I'm just up and going, leave it for somebody else to defend. You know, I feel like I'm here for a reason. You know, my ancestors would want me to stand up and be my very best self and keep going and pushing for a bright day just like they did. Because if they left, then I wouldn't be here. And they were able to endure things that I wouldn't even imagine. The stories that we have in Black families that we don't discuss, you know. And I just want to honor my ancestors. I want to honor my family. I want to stand up for my rights in a country that I was born in and raised in. And I really want to make a difference as much as I possibly can while I'm here.
I want people to know this as well. You know, I know, you know, when it comes to voting, there's a lot of people that say, oh, my vote don't count, this, you know, and they don't want to vote. I always tell people, like, that to me, where I think the strongest power when it comes to voting is local. I think that's the true power. Like, voting for the aldermen and the mayor and the senate and all of, like, voting locally is that power, because I can't change the world, but I could at least try to change the things that go on in Chicago. And if we can get Chicago together, then we can start getting everything else together. So I want everybody to get out there and vote, but don't just vote and punch the ballot and just think that's it. Get on these people. You voted them in. If you don't see the changes that you want, call them up. Go to their office. Go to the town hall meetings and stuff like that. Like, keep doing it. Like, keep pushing them. You know what I'm saying? Like, voting them in is one thing, but you got to keep up. You got to keep up with them and what the things that you want, the things that you would like to see in your communities. But you got to keep pushing them, because we've been voting a lot of people in office and they ain't done nothing for us. And I think a lot of us think that, oh, I voted, so they just got to do what I say. No, you need to get on them. Don't just vote them in and just chill out. Nope. Keep pushing them. Keep pushing. That's what we need to do. We desperately need to do that.
And it's like, for a long time, you feel like your voting was enough. But when you see these injustices happening, you're like, well, obviously it wasn't enough. So that's like, you can't not having a life and exercising your duty as American citizen to vote and having faith and trust in the system that things will be well and work out in the right behalf. Ain't nothing wrong with that. But then when you do see that it's just not easy peasy, it's not just wham bam, I did my part, I made it to the voting booth. Now you got to see what else you can do. What can you do in your community? Who can you reach out to? It's a lot of people struggling. Everybody's not okay. It's a pandemic. It's racial injustice. People got kids. They trying to make it. It's a lot going on. And then you like, well, call your senator. And people like, I just need a nap.
Right.
I'm finna, you know what I'm saying? And it's like on everyone right now. Everybody is like doing the most and exhausted and just mentally drained from everything that's being at us. And it's just like, some people think that, being strong will get you through, but you gotta really take a holistic approach about how you are even able to take care of yourself to a point where you can be an active person in these matters, because it takes a lot. It takes a lot, because it's traumatic, it's sad, it's hurtful. It could take you down for days, weeks, like you said. It could take you down, and you still have so much to do. So it's like you got to protect your spirit, and that's we can do. I feel like that's why we could do most is just protect our spirit. Like, if you can really pour into yourself and try and fill up yourself and love on yourself and hug yourself and check in with yourself and do something, you put yourself in the mirror, a little dance, little two-step, put some lotion on your pinky toe and really enjoy, something, whatever you can do for you, and like really embrace that and sit with yourself, because it's hard. And, everybody really trying to make it, so once you're able to be there for yourself, you can be there for others.
And just spread love, man. Like, just not only love for yourself, but love for your family, and just love people that you may not even know, but like, you know what I'm saying? It's time for us to just be able to not only strengthen myself, but I want to strengthen other people too. I want to strengthen my brother and my sister. I want to strengthen ChefJBMarie. I want to strengthen everybody. You know what I'm saying? Because we all need that. Like, it's a lot of stuff going on, but I wanna be able to, like, just a word or something, like even if I make a joke, and somebody laughs at it, like, and they just say, "Hey man, like thank you for telling that joke. That kind of got me through." Like it could be the littlest thing. Like we just need to start filling each other's cups up, so we have the energy to keep moving. And I personally want to thank Chef JBMarie for coming on the podcast, and we can just finally get to talk about all these things and all these issues. And I want y'all to make sure y'all check out Chef Chronicles on Anchor and also on Spotify as well. And let everybody know where they can see you on your socials and everything.
Okay, yeah, I'm on social media under ChefJBMarie on Instagram. You don't have to find me on Twitter or anything like that because I'm not really heavy on those scenes.
Right.
But you can pop in on my IG, you know what I'm saying? I do have Facebook. I have a page, ChefJBMarie. You can check out my professional page on Facebook, and then, just hit up my DMs, check my link in my bio for my podcast, Chef Chronicles. And most recent episode is Spiritual War, which is really good because we were just talking about pouring into our spirit, and that's literally what my episode 4 is about. So I think everybody would enjoy it. And yeah, you just check me out on IG.
And y'all make sure, not only y'all check it out, but y'all make sure y'all give her some of y'all business too, for real. I be seeing she be out. I just saw some. I just saw a video of some Mastacholi, and I was just like, oh my god, I love Mastacholi. So, and her food be looking so good.
Yeah, I do this.
Oh man. And again, Chef, thank you for coming to the podcast. I want to thank y'all for watching and listening, because not only will you'll see the video, but you'll also hear the audio version as well. The audio version is on Anchor and Spotify and Google and Apple Podcasts, all of that stuff. So thank y'all again for tuning in. Thank y'all for watching. Thank y'all for listening. Until then, I will see you guys next time. Peace.
Peace.